Well, say hi. We'll probably have this on KLTV.
Oh, great. Cool. Well, I'm Carly. I'm the communications coordinator here at the port. I do a lot of community outreach and organizing these fun events that we have. So we're looking forward to getting it started.
Yeah, I'm a little bit early, I guess.
That's okay. You can hang around outside. A lot's going on inside, so I don't know if I'd venture in there quite yet. We're still getting some things
Oh, I'll come back
put
after a
together,
little bit.
but yeah.
I think I went on one of these tours before, but it was over at your main office.
Oh, yeah, at the old.
Now, when did they purchase this building?
I'm not exactly sure when they purchased it, but I know that the port started renovating it in 2018, and then they moved in here 2020.
Okay.
So
Relatively recent
yeah.
compared to your long history.
yeah, this building was.
The port, they've been going, what, 50 years or, 100 years? 100 years.
Yeah, in April of this year, on April 21st, the port had celebrated its official 100-year birthday.
Well, I know they do a lot of business. In fact, one of the things that impressed me was those big windmill blades.
Yeah, well, on our tours today, whoever goes out there, there'll be wind towers being unloaded off of a ship and being trucked into the laydown yard for them to truck out into Canada, and Eastern Washington are a few of where they go, but mostly Canada for this round.
Now, you don't import cars here, do you?
No, not anymore. I think in way down like 50s or 40s they used to.
Oh,
Star
really?
cars used to come.
But lots of logs, right?
Lots of logs, yep. Logs, there's grain and wind.
Are they going to have a little talk, a little speech?
I don't think any of our commissioners or our CEO are going to be speaking.
Yeah, they did last time.
So if they want to, they can, but it's kind of just like an open house. So people will be coming in and coming out. So.
All right. Well, we'll see you after a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Thanks for coming out.
You're welcome.
I love your shirt.
Thank you.
Well, fine. You don't have any embroidery on
I
yours.
don't have anything. I'm a plain guy.
Howdy.
How are you?
Good. Starting the tour here, right?
So the building is pretty much open, and there's old-time signage around, just to kind of tell people kind of the story of kind of how we got here.
Built in 1937. 22,000 square feet. Purchased by the port in 1998. Served as the Longview headquarters until 1956. Purchased by the port in 1998. The Longview Company used their new building as an opportunity to demonstrate the attractiveness as wood as an interior finish. Types of trees used for the interior paneling: knotty ponderosa pine, vertical grain hemlock, vertical grain fir, vertical grain western red cedar, vertical grain larch, crowsfoot hemlock. And this looks like some of that knotty pine. Picture of the first shipment of boxboard paper shipped over port of Kelso Docks by Pacific Straw Paper and Board Company, 1926. Charles H. Olson, Port Commissioner, is standing third from left. The first manager of the port, H.L. Tabke, standing far right.
Yeah, gorgeous.
1930, the Longview Rainier Bridge was completed and tolls were installed to pay for its construction. 1933, a flood inundated the county, but dikes built by the Longview Lumber Company held strong and protected the Longview area. Other areas, particularly along the Cowlitz River, suffered considerable damage, including destruction of Longbell's Railroad. 1936, the port's grain elevator was leased to Continental Grain Company, which operated until the mid-1980s. 1937 to 1939, compared to the hardships experienced during the 30s, World War II created new jobs, new industry, and brought economic growth to Cowlitz County. Port docks were busy with exports of government-issued Lend-Lease war materials for Russia and Great Britain. Old-time picture. Like some conference rooms.
Oh, yeah. We got people filling it up. You've got plenty of it.
1950, the economic rebound of the 40s continued into the 50s, and Cowlitz County's industrial base continued to grow. Harvey Hart, new general manager of the port, aggressively pursued new cargoes to replace war-torn exports, which ceased at the end of World War II. He also obtained terminal port status, allowing the port to handle otherwise unattainable cargoes. 1953, the port obtained fire brick exports through a regularly scheduled freighter service. Ships returned loaded with Philippine beer and hardwoods. A warehousing and distribution system was put together to handle the trade. Cargoes grew to include imports of rattan, furniture, foodstuffs, and toys. 1956, a $1.5 million port expansion bond paid for another dock, more cranes, and additional warehouses to handle the rising tonnage and diversified cargo entering and leaving the port. 1958, the port constructed a new gantry crane, which more than doubled its capacity to load and unload bulk products. This is an old picture. I see you got looks like a 1957 Ford and either a 56 or 55 Chevy right there. In 1961, the port constructed a new office building at the end of Port Way. Administrative staff still occupied the building today. 1962, the port constructed a new bulk facility at Berth 5 to handle inbound alumina for the Reynolds Metal Company. 1967, the port's largest project to date, development at Berth 7, marked the beginning of an upriver expansion on property formerly occupied by the Longview Lumber Company. The completion of the berth resulted and 4,000 lineal feet of berth space, enough to accommodate 6 ships at once. 1968, Port Commissioners approved the purchase of 266 acres of property at Willow Grove as a future industrial site. Circa 1960s, the Longview Y and Herring Morgan Bridge over the Cowlitz River were constructed, giving better access to Interstate 5.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. 1972, the port was handling close to 6 million tons of cargo annually. It was the 3rd largest port in Washington and the 2nd largest on the Columbia River. Principal commodities included outbound grain, logs, lumber, pulp, aluminum, paper, foodstuffs, and machinery. Inbound commodities included canned goods, plywood, veneer, earthenware, tapioca, tea, wire, toys, and dry goods. 1973, Bob McNanny became general manager of the port in December 1973. 1974, Warehouse 18 was constructed, which is the picture there, to accommodate the SS Kresge Company, a port warehouse and distribution customer. In 1977, the SS Kresge Company name was changed to Kmart Corporation. So Kmart. 1978, the port purchased 41 acres of real estate from International Paper Company. In 1980, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers used the site to place sand and ash dredged from the Columbia River after Mount St. Helens erupted. Years of progress. 1980 to 1989. 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted and became a defining moment in the lower Columbia region. 1980, a 30-ton Krupp container crane was installed at Berth 7 and a container storage area was established. 1983, Arco Products Company rebuilt the former alumina unloading facility at Berth 5 as a new export terminal for calcium petroleum coke. 1986, 2 concrete silos were constructed at Berth 5, giving Arco 40,000 tons of calcium petroleum coke storage capacity. Annual export volume doubled to almost 1.5 million tons. 1988, the port's performance earned the E Award for exporting from President Ronald Reagan. Port commissioners traveled to Washington, D.C. to receive the award. 1988, Ken O'Halloran became executive director. 1989, the port began its single largest facility development project in more than 20 years, a $5.2 million project to make Berth 2 an environmentally sound facility for handling a wide range of dry bulk export cargoes. (1990 to 1999). 1990, the port and 6 other public ports on the lower Columbia entered into an agreement to fund the local share of a proposed feasibility study for deepening the Columbia River shipping channel. 1993, the 30-ton Krupp container crane at Berth 7 was retrofitted with clamshell buckets, allowing the crane to unload dry bulk commodities while still retaining its container handling capacity. 1996, the port began development of the industrial rail corridor to provide more efficient rail access to the industrial park. 1996, the port celebrated its 75-year anniversary. 1998, the port purchased 75 acres of real estate from International Paper Company. The site included the White House and other buildings. 1999, the port purchased 158 acres of real estate from International Paper Company. site include the waterfront property and would soon be home to the port's all-new Berth 8, which is the picture we're seeing. Yeah, see if anything's upstairs there. And we're upstairs now. Another placard. 2000 to 2009. The port dedicated Berth 8, the newest berth in 30 years, on October 5, 2000. 2001, Brown Straw Steel at North American Pipe and Steel, NAP, located at the port. 2002, the port began construction of the Industrial Rail Corridor and completed Phase 1 of the Fiberway Overpass. 2003, the port handled its first shipments of wind energy cargo, pictured. Wind energy cargo would be very profitable for several years.
Yeah, to try and help get the word out.
2007, Commissioner Larry Larson retires after 29 years as commissioner. 2008, the port welcomes its first Lieber mobile harbor crane for heavy lift cargo. 2009, the port signs a lease for the first export grain terminal, EGT, built in the United States in more than 25 years. 2009, the Port of Longview is named Port of the Year by Washington Public Ports Association. Yeah, we got another hallway here. Yeah, not much here. Elevator. Knotty pine paneling. Looks like a small kitchen or break room. Copy machine and office supplies. Another elevator. Washington's working port, 2010 to 2016. 2010, the port signed Skyline Steel as a new tenant in the West Industrial Park. 2010, the 275-acre Barlow Point property is purchased for future development. 2011, Executive Director Ken Halloran announces retirement after 25 years. 2012, EGT pictured boost port profits. Port posts its fourth consecutive record-setting revenue year with operating revenue over $28 million. 2013, the port purchases its second Lieber mobile harbor crane. 2013, economic impact study finds 1 in 10 local jobs in Cowles County is related to the port. 2014, commissioners approved plan to purchase Willow Grove Park from Cowles County. 2015, the port rebrands itself, adopts Washington's working port as new tagline. Yeah, more offices. I think we'll go on down and take a look at the tour. There we go, food and tours. Food Devils, Red Devils.
The port is open.
Yeah, they said there's food over here. Burgers. See if they got it going yet. Might be too early. Well, we got some free food here. Looks like a cookie. A Dropolino, I don't know if I need that. Burger. And something in here. Potato sauce, looks like. And a burger. Here's one of the facilities. I believe this is the Export Grain Terminal, EGT. Pretty massive. I'll try to zoom in on it if possible. Long conveyors. And the big silos. And it looks like more elevators, conveyors. And we'll swing on around here. See some more things. Big crane you can see through the trees. And I can see part of a ship. There's a building in front of it and some more cranes. Some more silos. Anyway, back to the tour part. Here's the big old tent they set up for the free food. And you can see the White House in the background.
Hi, Dwayne.
We'll see if we can record this.
What am I supposed to say?
Oh, words of wisdom about the port.
Well, listen, this is a clear example of how you can preserve the past and move forward into the future while displaying the past. We have a 20,000 square foot building here that is paid for responsibly, and if you had your choice, would you rather have this old gal restored or a brand new building? And at that point, we're proud to have retained the White House.
Looks like a pretty solid building to me. It has a nice wood interior.
You know, since it was built in 1937, and I hope I'm as in good condition when I'm as old as this building is. So it'll be here for many, many, many more years.
Well, that's way older than I am.
Yeah. Well, it's,
I think Longview Fiber owned this for a while, didn't they? Or
yeah.
Leased it or something?
Yeah, we had Long Bell, and then International Paper had it for years. And then after International Paper, the Warehouser had their timber operations department. They had this building leased. And so when the lease expired on the Port Commission, we made the decision to not rent it out anymore, but to retain it as part of our future growth. And now you're seeing the result. Went through a very painstaking process to preserve the building, but you know, look at the return on the investment. Is you have a finished product that.
What did you have to do? Put a new roof on it, or what?
Besides the roof, we had to reconfigure some walls for our meeting spaces, but we had to do it in a respectful way. It wasn't just tear a wall down and put what up. It had to match. We were very careful on that to keep the, I guess, the era preserved inside. And the fun facts about buildings like this is when it was built in 1937, between the walls, there was no insulation. Maybe something was in there, but this building is drafty and cold. Now it has a heat pump, windows that go up and down, and a roof that doesn't leak. So the before and after is really the most.
Does the elevator work?
Elevator works.
Yeah, I saw some signs on the elevators. What is there, 2 elevators?
Just one.
Oh, okay.
And that we have a vault room, you know, the big old safe kind of. The problem is they won't give me the code. I'm dying to get in there to see if Geraldo Rivera and I could find out what is in that vault, but someday they'll let me
Maybe
in.
Jimmy Off is in there.
Yeah, something. Yeah. But it's great attendance, and it'll go on all day. And Dwayne, I'm glad you're here. Did you go on the bus?
Not yet. I think I probably better head on back there. And
Yeah, make sure
I'm
to do
supposed to be
that.
on the second run.
Okay, well, and I may join you too. I'm going to visit with these folks, and I'll see you in the back on the bus, I hope.
Okay.
In the back of the
Oh, they gotta drop people off first.
We're ready for the tour here.
Yeah,
Ah, she's escaping.
it's a great day at the port. Great tour of the facilities for Washington's working port, the third busiest port in Washington. So
Talking with Spencer Boudreau, and he's a candidate for political office.
fun fact today, my grandpa used to drive this bus when it was, or for LCC when he was the LCC bus driver. And then when International Paper vacated the building after Longview moved out, my Aunt Sharon was the last secretary to leave. So
Cool.
a lot of history in this building and on the port property, so thank you.
No. See,
So we're going to be going into one of our back gates, so we're going to kind of go on a backwards route through the port, but you'll still see everything, hopefully. If you have questions, just raise your hand. We'll be happy to answer it if we can. My name's Lori Nelson Cooley. I'm the manager of business development at the port, and this is Larry Landgraver. He's the manager of marine terminal operations. So you have the port size range. It varies. Tacoma and Seattle, obviously, Northwest Seaport Alliance, and then Longview and Vancouver kind of go back and forth as far as like tonnage and dollar-wise. Land-wise, obviously, they beat us, so. Okay, as we enter the gate, see port security there. So the Port of Longview is secured by Homeland Security, the entire facility. You need a federal TWIC ID to be able to get in, and also a reason to come in the port too. You just can't come in because you want to. So as we come into the port, we're going to start off by viewing our Berth 8 and EGT grain elevator first. So the EGT grain elevator is the first grain elevator built in the United States, well actually probably west of the Mississippi in about 30 years. It's can take 6 unit trains, so 4 coming in and 2 going out. It can load up to 1 million tons a year, all destined to Asia. I think our highest volume was nearly 9 million tons export. So that's all grains, varying grains, soft red wheat, soybean, corn, all different types of grains. It can load up to 3,000 tons an hour, so it's a very sought after facility, probably one of the best on the West Coast. So as Larry mentioned, that besides coming in by rail, we do get barge cargo, so they do have an area where they can unload a barge and then load it onto vessels. So cargo coming from downriver from Idaho and eastern Washington and eastern Oregon. So if you look directly to your left, you can see EGT, the grain elevator, the silos, the conveyors, and the ship loader. Unfortunately, we don't have a vessel today. So where we're parked right now is called Berth 8. So this dock was primarily built for export logs. It was built in 1999 and first used in October of 2000. It's primarily built for actually Willamette Industries, which then sold to Weyerhaeuser. So the port had to quickly think like who else would use this berth. And that's one great thing about the Port of Longview is we're very diverse in our cargo that we handle. And we immediately went out and started marketing the berth, and we marketed with other log brokers, and the berth has been very busy and active since that time. At times we can export, I don't know, 8 million feet of logs. You know, it's a pretty amazing facility. So right now there's not a berth here or a ship here, but it's all steel piling. Do you have any questions?
Good question. What's the big tower right there for?
That is barge unloading. That's your barge unloader. So it takes about 1,800 to 2,000 trucks to fill one log ship. They load directly off of log trucks. So the log trucks that you see coming into the port, they'll pull right up here. Ship will be berthed here. The log stackers take them off the trucks and either set them to the dock or brings them directly to the ship for the crane to pick up and load onto the vessel. 1,800 to 2,000 depending on the amount. So that's why you see so many log trucks out on industrial.
How long does it take to load up that ship?
Approximately 5 to 6 days, working days and nights. 3 gangs of men, and probably about anywhere from 30 to 40 men on a log vessel. It's also one of the most dangerous jobs of longshoremen work. Logs roll, they're not a straight structure, so it can be very dangerous. So now we're driving up on what we call our Row Berth. This allows a port to load barges or vessels that might have sterns, like that ramps that drop down. So anything that's rubber tired can roll on, roll off. It's what it's called, the barge dock, or roll on, roll off. We can take heavy cargo down here that may not be able to be lifted by a crane. So might need to be put on a specialty truck that would literally drive onto the barge or onto the ramp. So it's about 96 feet in width. It's got about a 10% grade, which is a little steep, but it works and we use it for that activity.
We are sturgeon hole.
Huh?
We are sturgeon fishing hole.
Oh, there you go. So now we're up on verse 7. As you can see out the side towards water, the old yellow duck, we call it. That crane was bought in the 80s by the port, and it was brought here in the hopes that we would handle containers one day. Well, that never came to be. It was used when it came here, so it's pretty old. I don't know how old it is, but it came in the early 80s, and it was used then. So, and it never, that business never came to be for the port. I mean, you just couldn't get containers from when it comes to Longview. So they actually fitted it with a bolt, like a bucket, and used it for both imports and exports. And that's why you see that big gray piece of equipment underneath it. That's what's called a hopper. And the crane would pick up the cargo and then dump it into that gray hopper that then hooks to a series of conveyors that loads to buildings or trucks or something like that. Of course, that crane no longer works, and someday we'll take it down. But now we have our Rainier mobile harbor cranes, which we'll see here pretty soon, that have taken its place. But this dock, primarily we export scrap metal, we import calcine coke, and we import magnetite, which is a really high-grade iron ore that they use in the coal industry. And we import like fertilizers, different things like that. So we have full containment on this berth for stormwater and wastewater. So that's why we do the activities on this particular berth. As you also notice that there's rail on this berth. We're driving over it right now. So the Port of Longview has on-dock rail. It's about 1,200 onto rail cars. Cargo that could never be loaded to a truck or to the yard. So as you see right over here, this is the Star Bird Lab. It's owned by G2 Ocean. It's one of the carriers we work with. We're discharging wind cargo. So up on deck, those are tower sections. That's a 5-section tower. So there's bases, 2 mids, 3 mids, and a top. And then below deck, which they haven't gotten to yet, there'll be components. So the nacelle, the hub, the generator, all other stuff. Right. So they'll use the 2 Liebherr cranes that are on the dock. They'll discharge those to trailers, drive them out to the yard where the longshoremen will then pick them up and put them in the yard for truck delivery later.
Well, once in a while I've seen it. Do they bring the wings for the big wind beer tower?
Okay, so the blades, right? So this particular project is going to Canada, to southern Alberta. It's called the Blue Hills Project. And all the blades have come in and left already. So they kind of do like an on-demand delivery system. The customers are pretty, wind is very demanding work. They have a very tight schedule. So as soon as they get it in, they truck it out most times, especially to Canada because they have a frost window, so they can only truck certain times of the year, or they have to change their tires on the truck. So it can be a little expensive to do that. So all this cargo, we will have another project coming in called the Rattlesnake Ridge Project, which will again be basically the same cargo also going to Canada. So when you see that cargo leaving the port, that's where it's going.
How do you determine how much you charge a ship to unload?
Oh, that's my job. Larry here tells me how many men it takes, and then I figure out how much I'm going to charge him. Wind is very expensive, let's just say that. So right to your left is what we call the transit shed. It's number 6. That houses our magnetite, and that cargo also goes to Canada. So this particular cargo that's in the building, well, actually it might be empty now, came from New Zealand, from Tasmania, and our next shipment is coming from Chile. And what it does is they use it in, so when they strip mine metallurgical coal, they strip it off the mountain, and rock is in there. And the magnetite separates the rock and the coal because it has magnet. So it actually drops the coal and allows the rock to be separated. So. All of that goes up by rail. So these box cars right here are full of aluminum billet from Saudi Arabia. So it's coming from Saudi Arabia going to Portland and Spokane. Not always available, Portland. It's not always available. As we move along here, you can kind of see out here, there's some pipe. This is our laydown yard. This is where we put all the wind and all the steel, some of our equipment that we use. And we're driving by. So right to your left is our Berth 5 facility. That is a privately owned facility. We own the dirt, but they own the infrastructure, and it's owned by BP. So it was built originally for Reynolds Aluminum, the 2 oldest silos, and then it changed hands to Arco in probably the early 80s, and they started exporting calcined coke. So calcined coke is a byproduct of when they make gas. So from Cherry Point, the refinery, the kind of a sludge on the bottom of the tanks when they refine the oil, they just incinerate it, I guess. They dry it, and then they process it, and it becomes calcined coke, and they use it in the alumina industry, like for power anodes. Yeah. So we export about 800,000 tons a year. It's all railed down from Cherry Point. It's dumped into the facility and then either stored in those silos, and then the berth that we have here. So that berth replaced the old grain terminal berth. Basically, the grain terminal is what was one of the first Port of Longview's cargo. The original silos that stick out were built in 1927. Then the additional set was the 30s, and then there was another set in the 50s. It was Continental Grain, and they walked away from it in 1989, went bankrupt, and it has sat dormant since that time. So Port does have plans to take the silos down, but it's an expensive, you know, about an $8 million bill, so it's not cheap. But in the early 2000s, well, mid-2000s, we took out the old wood structure and we put in this light steel structure, which is a series of mooring dolphins and resting dolphins. And basically what it is it's the port's redevelopment project. So when we go out and we talk to customers, it will potentially be an export bulk facility of some sort. It might be grain, it might be soda ash, it might be potash, and it will have unit train service to it. And we're hoping somewhere in the range of 4 to 6 million tons a year. So that's what you'll need to do to be able to talk to us about that. So when they come and they're like, oh, we have 100,000 tons, I'm like, yeah, not enough. Try again. But, and beyond that, we have Berth 2, which we export soda ash out of. Soda ash comes from Green River, Wyoming, and it's railed here through Union Pacific. We export about 500 to 700,000 tons a year of that. And that's a leased facility by IRM, so International Raw Materials out of Pennsylvania. Yeah. Huh? Oh, yeah. yeah, not anymore.
Some of those old silos.
Oh, yeah. We did do Kmart, right? Out in the warehouse. So if you look out to your left, you'll see some of the billet, the steel billet laying out there, kind of in long tubes. That's the cargo that came in from Saudi Arabia.
How do they use that? It looks more like a walkway.
It is a walkway, you're right. They just tie up to it, so it's only a labor right now. So we allow ships to tie up to it. It's not for loading at all. Not yet. Right. So we're coming out to the laydown yard. If you look to the left, you'll see that red truck over there with that big trailer. So that truck right there, they'll load like a nacelle on it or a hub. It's, you know, you see all the axles on it. That's designed to take heavy cargo onto it, right? And those trucks are millions of dollars, and that's why it's so important to the wind companies that we have the labor and we can load these pieces of equipment when they need them, because those trucks sitting there and not rolling, I mean, obviously that one's sitting there for a reason, not because we didn't have labor, but not rolling to the cost of our customer a lot of money. So it's a lot of coordination that Larry has to do to make sure the ship gets unloaded and to make sure those trucks get loaded so our customer stays happy. So these particular towers right here came from China. So that's why it's a Canadian project, that we would never bring Chinese towers if we're in a U.S. project. Anti-dumping duties, it's called. Yeah.
How come they don't ship them straight to Canada?
Okay, because they don't have clearance. So Canadian ports are super busy, and they've got a ton of business, a ton of container business, and they're really not interested in this kind of business. Plus, they have clearance issues. They're in the Canadian Rocky Mountains, so you just can't get it through. They didn't build great infrastructure in BC area, so they didn't build great highways. I mean, I don't know if you've ever visited Vancouver, Canada, but have you ever noticed there's not really a main freeway to get to the city? So that's fine. So all of these, so you see that the yellow components on them, they're the the lifting cranes, thank you. Those all have to be stripped off. So all the longshoremen, not only do they unload the ships, set them down here, but they also have to strip these down and then take them and reload them to truck. So it's pretty complicated, highly skilled work. So, and they also have, you know, we have a lot of equipment moving around the yard also. Any questions? The heaviest one here weighs about 65 tons. So this yard is also a foreign trade zone. So we're in a foreign trade zone right now. So this particular customer is utilizing the foreign trade zone to move the cargo inbound to Canada. That way, if for some reason they can't get across the Canadian border in 45 days, then they're not having to pay customs fees. So basically, once they're off the ship and they enter the foreign trade zone, it's unlimited storage. It's off the clock, right? So, and then once they're out of the foreign trade zone, then they're back on the clock. So that is one thing the Port of Longview has. Our entire yard is covered by that. We do charge them for storage, and we charge them for the foreign trade zone too.
How many acres is the port?
So our current facility is just over 400 acres, and that includes some of our lease properties. And then we have Barlow Point also in Willow Grove Park and the Willow Grove Wetlands. So I think it's totaling just over 800 acres.
Why did they anchor those ships up?
Those are anchor spots, and it's because the berths aren't ready or the cargo's not ready. So they're waiting. They're waiting to go to Portland, Longview, Kalama, Vancouver, somewhere.
Or customs? I've seen customs out there before.
Yeah, customs will go in and make sure they're clean. So they'll do an inspection, like no gypsy moths, nobody's sick, you know. Any questions before we end the tour? How long has the port been around? 100 years. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I knew that one today. At least you didn't ask me how long I've been around. Actually, I've been here for 14 years. Larry, you've been here?
6 in the 40s.
Yeah, so Larry has 10 years on the water experience. Thank